Hello, everyone, and welcome to BodyBags. I'll be your reviewer for today. I'm Lonnie from Dern, Tats. And yeah, I'm sure if you've been keeping up with the videos coming out this week we're doing a label, and the label that we're doing is Universal Pictures. And I decided to do this one from 1989. And I gotta be honest, I'm actually kind of surprised nobody's done this one. Or if they've done it, it must have been a really, really old one. But this is from 1989, directed by Joe Dante, starring Tom Hanks. We have The Burbs. I've always really enjoyed this movie. This movie's been a lot of fun, and yeah, and this is one of those movies. One thing that I am actually kind of surprised about, especially when it comes to Universal, I think Universal probably is the one studio more than others that they probably have had more movies. Excuse me. They probably had more movies come out in theaters that ended up being box office flops, but then through home video and then cable and streaming and on, their movies would end up finding a huge audience. And The Burbs is one of those movies. This was a movie when it first came out in theaters. Like it died in the theaters. It didn't do any business at all, really. And but the thing is like once it hit home video, and then it started on cable TV, late night TV, things like that. Um, Next thing you know, man, boom, this movie ended up blowing up. It's got one hell of a cult following, and it's got websites devoted to it and everything else. Like this movie blew up huge. And that's the thing, Universal is pretty well known for that. They have a lot of movies that have gone through that. One of the most notorious ones, obviously, is John Carpenter's The Thing, but they've got plenty of other movies. Pitch Black, which Rob just reviewed. I believe that's one of the movies. Like I think that one, yeah, when it first came out, I think it was a box office failure too. But once because of home video and stuff like that, it found its following. Then ended up helping it get two more sequels. So even though I did turn down to the action science fiction franchise that Vin Diesel definitely wanted, because I remember that, yeah, it was years back. Vin Diesel had his choice of three movies out of his action films that excuse me, that he could try to make a franchise out of. There was Fast and the Furious, there was Triple X, and then there was uh, the Riddick, with Pitch Black, and he wanted Pitch Black to become the franchise. He wanted the Riddick character to go on and everything else, but unfortunately, it's like fortunately for him, but now we know his big franchise, obviously Fast and the Furious. But anyway, so yeah, but plenty other movies have gone through this. Tremors was another big one. Um, Mallrats. I mean, but that's the thing, like Universal has just been kind of known for that. A lot of their movies have come out and been flops, but then over time, they find their audience. So anyway, so yeah, the story here is I'm going to be honest, it's a bit more of a comedy than it is a horror film, but there's definitely horror elements in it. And the story is about Ray Peterson, played by Tom Hanks, and his wife Carol, played by the late great Carrie Fisher. Who, that is one complaint that I do have about this movie. As much as I enjoy this film, um, and Carrie Fisher, it was always great to see her in anything. Didn't matter what it was. If Carrie Fisher was in a movie, it put a smile on your face, and it did in this movie, obviously. But I would say, unfortunately for her, like she didn't really get much to do. She had a decent part, but not anything great. Just kind of her character was just kind of there, but she just didn't really get a lot to do to really make much of an impression and everything else. I mean, and obviously it's that wasn't Carrie's fault. I mean, we all know Carrie was an amazing talent, but just unfortunately just with what she had to work with, what could you do? So anyway, at the beginning of the story, Ray here, he's he's got a week's vacation, and he wants to do what pretty much all of us want to do when we get a week vacation, which is absolutely nothing. We want to sit on our butts. We want to just hang around the house. Excuse me. We want to just not do anything, or do the very bare minimum. We just want to spend time with our loved ones and our family and our friends and just hang around, and stuff. And that's all Ray here wants to do. He's like, I got a week off of work, and Carol, she's kind of pleading with him. She wants him, she wants him to go with him to go to a cabin and spend a week there and all that kind of stuff. And he's like, no, I don't. It's like, first of all, it's like the drive is a bitch, and then we get there, and it's like, then we're gonna be sitting there and nothing to do really, and just kind of sitting there staring at each other and stuff. He's like, I want to be here. I want to be, like, I want to be able, like watch TV and spend time with you and spend time with our son and, like, watch the game, have a beer every now and again, smoke an occasional cigar, just enjoy myself, just, enjoy the time that I have off. And so they kind of realizes it's kind of a losing battle. Well, meanwhile, they have right next door to them, they have this house that looks definitely something like out of the Addams Family. Very much. Like the Addams Family would have loved this place. Very sorry about that. Sorry, just my throat's really dry. Perks of living in Arizona. Anyway, back to this. So they have these neighbors living next door to them, this family called the Klopeks. And there's only 3 of them that every once in a while, hardly anybody can see. One is played by Henry Gibson. One is played by brother Theodore. And then the third one is played by Courtney Gaines, Malachi from Children of the Corn. So, and then it turns out that, this family, like, seems like they stay inside all the time. And they're, they kind of keep to themselves and all this kind of stuff, but they don't seem like they're, taking care of their home or anything like that. And the thing is, this house really does stand out like a sore thumb. And, they're living in this cul-de-sac, and pretty much everybody's got, like these nice houses and, very bright colors. And they, they maintain their yards and never keep their grass mowed, all this other kind of stuff. And you got this house here. It's like I said, it looks like something the Addams Family would enjoy. So, Ray and his neighbor Art, who is played by Rick Dukeman, the late Rick Dukeman, Art starts to become extremely obsessed. He becomes fascinated with, the Klopeks, and he wants to know what's the deal. What is going on with these people, and it starts to become an obsession with him. And so, and now he wants to start trying to, pull Ray into it and get him. He's like, I just want to find out what the deal is with this family, and I want to know what's going on with them and all this other kind of stuff. And at first, Ray is just like, I don't want to be bothered with this stuff. So you got poor Ray here. Like I say, you got poor Ray here. All he wants to do is just sit on his butt and enjoy his time off. That's all he wants to do. But on the one end, he's got his wife begging him to, for them to go to this cabin. On the other hand, he's got, now he's got his buddy Art wanting to find out what the deal is with, this, family, the Klopeks. And at first, it's like, they're just, oh, leave it alone, leave it alone. Then they have these neighbors, the Rumsfields. The husband, I think it's Walter, I think that's his name, played by Bruce Dern, who's, he's your very kind of conservative Republican type, and all this stuff, always wears like army fatigues and stuff, and always ready with a gun and all that kind of stuff and everything. And his wife, I forget the character's name, I'm sorry, but played by Wendy Shaw, who, quick trivia is that Seth MacFarlane is such a huge fan of this movie that he ended up, because of this movie, he hired Wendy Shaw to do the voice of Francine on his, animated series American Dad. But anyway, and then they have this other neighbor, Ricky, played by Corey Feldman, who, the funny thing about Ricky is interesting, is like in the beginning, Ricky comes off as very much of an oddball, and you're kind of wondering, like, what is, this guy's weird, and this kid's weird, because the thing about Ricky is, like, Ricky, his whole form of entertainment is that he wants to invite the girls that he dates, or he invites his friends, or, anybody. He wants to invite people over just to watch what's going on in the neighborhood. It's like, just come over here, we'll sit on my porch, and we just watch my neighbors. Because, my neighbors and, this neighborhood and everything is infinitely more entertaining than, anything that's on TV or going to movies or going anywhere. He's, so he's like, so throughout the movie, like, Ricky is constantly, like, bringing girlfriends or bringing his buddies over or something like that, and just hey man, let's just hang out here. We're gonna watch my neighbors and all. And look at all this crazy stuff. In the beginning, it seems weird, but as the movie progresses, you start to realize like Ricky's actually kind of right because as the movie goes on, it's like yeah, things get more and more, interesting to say the least. And so so yeah, in the beginning, they're suspecting the Klopex and they just want to know what the deal with this family is and stuff. And then they have one thing that becomes very interesting is that they have a one of their neighbors, Walter. Uh, yeah, okay, yeah, he was the Walter. Okay, yeah, there was the neighbor Walter, and he all of a sudden, he's just an old man and stuff. He has a dog, and all of a sudden, one day, Walter just disappears. And the dog shows up at Ray's house, and Ray is like, okay, well, I guess we'll take care of the dog and all that kind of stuff. And so, so they're taking care of the dog and just, okay, he's like, don't you think it's kind of weird that he disappeared and, what happened to him and all this other kind of stuff? And then, you know, at one point, like Art is like Ray is like laying in his backyard, just laying in a lawn chair and just trying to relax. And Art comes up and everything and starts yammering about the Klopex and all this stuff. And Ray's just like, God, he's like, God damn it, I just want to relax, man. I just want to do nothing, and I can't even do that, and stuff. And then it's like they, he's bickering with them and stuff, and the dog is like, playing fetch, and all of a sudden he realized like, wait a minute, that's a human leg bone, and they're like, wait a minute, where'd that come from? It's like it's coming from next door, the dog found it from next door and brought it over, and so now they're starting to really, wonder like, okay, what is going on? We're seeing human bones in our neighborhood and stuff like this, and so it's up to Ray and Art and Rumsfeld. The three of them decide to take it upon themselves. They're going to start investigating and find out what is going on with this family, the Klopex, and even though Rumsfeld's wife, she's not too keen on the idea, and Carol is definitely not interested. But I think I'm just going to go ahead. The three of them are going to start, going. They're going to make it their mission to find out who the Klopex are and what is going on. And it's like I'm not going to give anything away more than that. I imagine probably everybody's seen this already, but so I'm sure you already know how the movie ends. But this movie is a lot of fun. Like I said, it's far more humor than it is horror, but it's definitely got some horror vibes to it. Definitely horror elements. Tom Hanks, of course, is great. Every actor in this movie is great. Bruce Dern is a lot of fun. Rick Dukeman was a lot of fun. Corey Feldman, everybody in this movie. Of course, being Joe Dante, you get a fun little scene with, Dick Miller and Robert Picardo, who, two Joe Dante regulars. So, there's like a fun little nod in this to Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 and everything. I'm not going to give that away, but, there's a lot of fun horror elements, a lot of fun comedy elements and stuff. And one thing, too, is if you haven't seen this movie, get ready, because one thing I think you're going to be pleased with is that there is quite a few twists and turns that, honestly, the first time I watched the movie, I did not see coming. And I think a lot of people didn't see coming. So it is, this movie, definitely has some things to, kind of throw you off. But honestly, it doesn't exactly go the way you think it's going to go, and stuff. But, you will be surprised. You will be pleased. You will be surprised by it. But, this movie is a ton of fun. And one thing I think is, I can remember my mother. There was a part where Tom Hanks, like, this one part he did to my mother. It was the funniest thing she had ever seen. And every time she watched it, she was just, she was just like dying because she was laughing so hard because, he's like, Tom Hanks, he's like, oh my God, I've been blown up. Take me to a hospital. Take me to a hospital. I've been blown up. So, there's an ambulance nearby and there's like a stretcher on the ground. So he goes and he lays down on the stretcher. Then he jumps up and he grabs the stretcher, throws it in the back of the ambulance. Then he jumps in the ambulance, jumps on the stretcher and all this. And he's like, take me to the hospital. I've been blown up, and stuff. And then Carrie Fisher, she's like, honey, he's like, yeah. And, she's like, I'm just going to find out what hospital they're taking you to. Then I'm going to follow behind you, okay? Okay, sweetheart. So I remember my mother, she used to die laughing. She thought that was the funniest thing she'd ever seen. But everything about this movie works, and it is a lot of fun. I will say, though, if you're the kind of person you don't like, the blend of horror and comedy, then yeah, you're not going to enjoy this movie. But the thing is, though, is like, it's a Joe Dante movie, so you kind of got to go in knowing. If you watch Joe Dante movies, you know that that's the way Joe Dante works. In all of his interviews and stuff. I think the only time that Joe Dante did not blend in humor with a horror story that he did was when he did the season 2 episode of Masters of Horror: The Screwfly Solution. That is probably, to my knowledge, like the one like horror story he ever did that was like played completely straight. Never ever, not even a joke in that story. And then, but usually like everything else, if it's Joe Dante, it's like he's always going to do that. He's one of those directors. He firmly believes you need to put humor into a horror, especially a horror film, especially if it's something, of course, like Gremlins or The Howling or something like that. It's like, yeah, you need to put something in the movie for the audience to laugh at, so the audience doesn't laugh at the movie itself. And so going into this, and I believe they said on the bonus features too that this actually started off as pretty much a straight out full-fledged horror film, but Dante wanted to put comedy elements into it to make it easier for people to deal with it. So, but anyway, yeah, The Burbs, it's a lot of fun. It's a great movie. I highly recommend it. So, yeah. So that's it. So if anybody took the time to watch this, I thank you for doing it. And I appreciate you for doing it. I honestly hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, could you please leave a like? And if you haven't already, go ahead and subscribe to the BodyBags channel. We have a different reviewer, one for every day of the week. I am the Saturday reviewer. And we have a lot more fun stuff coming, and I can't wait. And it's going to be a blast. So take care, everyone. Have a good night, and I'll see you all later. Bye.